So you're sitting at the dealership, and the finance manager slides a paper across the desk. "Good news," he says with a smile. "We can get you into this car for just $547 a month." And here's what happens in your brain. You don't think about the $40,000 car, you think about the $547. You run a quick mental calculation. Okay, I make $5,800 a month after taxes. $547 is less than 10%. That's doable, right? And you sign. 6 months later, you're looking at your bank account wondering why you have no money. A year later, you're trapped. 2 years later, you're Googling how to get out of a car payment at 2 a.m. And here's the crazy part. You're smart, you're educated, you did the math. So what went wrong? My name is Rihan, and I spend an unhealthy amount of time thinking about why intelligent people make terrible car buying decisions. If you're someone who feels like you're making decent money but somehow always seems broke, or you're stuck in a car payment that's slowly draining your financial future, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if this video helps you avoid what might be the single biggest wealth killer for middle-class Americans, give it a thumbs up. Because what I'm about to show you isn't just about cars, it's about a psychological trap that's keeping millions of people from building real wealth. And the scary part? Most people don't even realize they've fallen into it. When I talk to people about their car payments, I get the same response every single time. But I need a reliable car. And look, I get it. I'm not saying you should drive a 1987 Civic that breaks down every 3 weeks. What I'm saying is that the way we think about car payments has been completely hijacked by the automotive industry, and it's costing the average American literally millions of dollars over their lifetime. Let me give you some numbers that should make you uncomfortable. According to Experian's State of the Automotive Finance Market report, the average new car payment in America is now $739 per month. For used cars, it's $542, and the average loan term? 68 months for new cars. That's nearly 6 years. But here's what most people don't realize. It's not the monthly payment that's killing you. It's what that monthly payment represents, a complete rewiring of how you think about wealth. Let me explain what I mean. When you walk into a dealership, you're not shopping for a car anymore. You're shopping for a monthly payment. The salesperson doesn't ask, "What's your budget for a vehicle?" They ask, "What monthly payment works for you?" And this is where it gets really interesting, because that question, that simple little question, fundamentally changes the entire transaction. You're no longer thinking about the total cost, you're thinking about cash flow. And cash flow thinking is how people stay poor. Now you might be thinking, "Okay, Rihan, but what's wrong with thinking about monthly payments? I have to budget month to month. That's just being realistic." And that's exactly the trap. Let me show you the math that dealerships don't want you to see. Let's say you're looking at a $35,000 car. At 7% interest over 72 months, your payment is about $597 per month. Over the life of that loan, you'll pay $42,984. That's $7,984 in interest alone. But wait, it gets worse, because here's what happens in real life. You don't keep that car for 72 months and then drive it payment-free. No, what happens is around month 60, when you still owe $12,000 on a car that's now worth $14,000, you get the itch. Maybe it needs new tires. Maybe it's starting to have issues. Maybe you just want something newer. So what do? You trade it in, and the cycle starts again. So now you're rolling negative equity into your new loan, or at best, you're starting from zero again. Let's say you do this 4 times between age 25 and 65. That's 4 cycles of car payments. If you're paying an average of $600 a month for 40 years, that's $288,000 in car payments. But here's the number that should make you physically ill. If instead of making those car payments, you invested that $600 a month in an index fund averaging 10% annual returns, you'd have $3.16 million at retirement. $3.16 million. That's the real cost of always having a car payment, not the $600, not even the $288,000. It's the $3.16 million in retirement wealth you gave up. And for what? To drive a slightly nicer car than you need? Now, look, I can already hear some of you saying, but Rihan, I can't just not have a car. I can't invest $600 a month. I need transportation. And you're absolutely right. But here's what you're missing. Let me tell you about two different people I know. We'll call them Sarah and Michael. Both make $75,000 a year. Both started their careers at 25. Both needed reliable transportation. Sarah does what most people do. She buys a new $32,000 Honda Accord. She finances it over 6 years at $540 per month. 6 years later, she trades it in and gets another new car. She does this her entire working life, always having a car payment, always driving something relatively new and nice. Michael takes a different approach. He takes that same $32,000 and buys a 3-year-old Honda Accord in cash for $18,000. He saves the $540 he would have been paying in a high-yield savings account. 3 years later, he has $19,440 saved. He sells his car for $12,000. Now he has $31,440 in cash. He buys another 3-year-old Accord for $20,000. He still has $11,440 left over, which he invests. He continues saving that $540 per month. Are you seeing what's happening here? Michael is basically driving the same car as Sarah, just 3 years older, but he's building massive wealth in the process. Let's fast forward 20 years. Sarah has made 240 car payments of $540. That's $129,600 out of pocket, and she still has a car payment. She owns nothing. Michael has spent roughly the same amount of cars over those 20 years, but here's the difference. He's accumulated about $180,000 in investments, because after those first 2 cycles, he's now generating enough investment income that his cars are essentially paying for themselves. Same salary, same basic transportation, completely different financial outcomes. And here's the psychological shift that makes this possible. Michael thinks in assets. Sarah thinks about payments. Look, I need to be real with you for a second. The reason this car payment trap is so effective isn't because people are bad at math. It's because car payments give us permission to buy things we can't afford by disguising the real cost. Think about it. If someone said, hey, would you pay $45,000 for this car? You'd think about it carefully. You'd consider alternatives. You'd feel the weight of that number. But when someone says, you can drive this home for just $625, suddenly it doesn't feel like $45,000 anymore. It feels like $625. And $625 feels manageable. It feels reasonable. This is what behavioral economists call payment decoupling. You're decoupling the payment from the actual cost, and your brain treats them as completely different things. There's another psychological factor at play here, and it's even more insidious. It's something called the normalization of debt. When everyone around you has a car payment, when your parents have a car payment, your friends have a car payment, your coworkers have a car payment, it stops feeling like debt. It starts feeling like just a part of life, like a utility bill, like rent. But here's what most people don't realize. The wealthy don't think this way. According to research from the National Study of Millionaires, 61% of millionaires never had car payments exceeding half their annual income, and the majority drive cars that are at least 4 years old. They understand something that most people don't. A car is not an investment. It's a depreciating liability. And you don't finance liabilities if you want to build wealth. Now, I want to address something head-on because I know what some of you are thinking. But Rayhan, I can afford my car payment. I make good money. Why shouldn't I drive something nice? And here's my answer. You absolutely can drive something nice, but there's a massive difference between I can afford the payment and I can afford this car. And let me put it this way. If you can't write a check for the car today, you can't afford it. The payment is irrelevant. The payment is a financial product designed to separate you from your money as slowly and painlessly as possible. So what do you actually do if you're stuck in this trap right now? Because knowledge without action is just entertainment. First, you need to acknowledge where you are. If you currently have a car payment, I want you to do something right now. Pull up your loan statement. Look at 3 numbers: how much you owe, what your car is currently worth, and how much total interest you'll pay over the life of the loan. Just look at those numbers, sit with them, feel uncomfortable for a minute. Second, commit to making this your last car payment ever. Not your last car, your last car payment. Here's how you do it. Keep making your current payment, but when the loan is paid off, keep making that payment to yourself. If you're paying $550 a month now, keep paying $550 a month to a separate savings account when the loan is done. In 3 years, you'll have almost $20,000 in cash. When your current car needs to be replaced, sell it for whatever it's worth and use that plus your savings to buy your next car in cash. It won't be brand new. It might be 5 or 6 years old, but you know what it will be? Paid for, fully owned, no monthly payment. Then you keep saving that monthly amount. Next time you replace your car, maybe it's only 3 years old. The time after that, maybe you're buying 1-year-old cars. Eventually, you're driving whatever you want, completely paid off, while still building wealth on the side. Third, if you're deeply underwater on your current loan, like you owe $30,000 on a car worth $18,000, you might need to take more aggressive action. Can you sell the car, take out a small personal loan for the difference, and buy a reliable beater for $5,000? Yeah, it'll suck for a year or two, but you'll be free. And freedom is worth more than leather seats and a backup camera. Here's the thing nobody wants to hear. Getting out of the car payment trap requires short-term sacrifice. You might have to drive something less impressive for a while. You might have to tell your friends you're making a change. You might have to let go of the idea that your car represents your success. But on the other side of that sacrifice is something most people never experience: true financial flexibility, the ability to take risks, the ability to invest, the ability to build real wealth instead of just looking wealthy. Look, I know this video might have made you uncomfortable. Good. If you feel uncomfortable right now, it means something resonated. It means you're recognizing the trap. The car payment trap isn't really about cars. It's about a mindset that keeps people on a hamster wheel their entire lives. Monthly payments feel safe. They feel manageable. They feel normal, but they're slowly, quietly stealing your financial future. Every dollar you send to a bank for a car payment is a dollar that could have been building your wealth, funding your dreams, or buying you freedom. And time is the one thing you can't get back. So here's my challenge to you. Make this your last car payment cycle. Not next time, this time. Start saving now. Start planning now. Because the difference between retiring wealthy and retiring broke often comes down to a handful of decisions you make in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, and this is one of the big ones. If this video changed how you think about car payments, hit that like button and subscribe, because I make videos like this every week about the financial decisions that actually matter. And drop a comment below. Are you currently stuck in a car payment, or have you broken free? I read every single comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.